It's good to be here with you again. The program Unlimited Faith. My name is David Sariñana, and we have a special guest, Nicole Morales. Nicole, welcome back.
Thank you.
Good to have you back. And we have some amazing things that we want to share with our audience. And I want you to take the time and invite your friends to listen in, because you are going to be impacted. I mean, I'm excited already about the things that we're going to be sharing with you. So don't go away. Send out the invitation, share it with your friends and family, and we'll be right back after this brief pause.
You are invited to Success is Believing with David Sariñana to put your faith in action. An author, conference speaker, a spiritual leader, a successful businessman, David Sariñana will guide you to truth principles.
We're back. Great to see you again, Nicole. And I want to get into something that some people might feel uncomfortable talking about. And you know, you've gone through an experience that the experience, I think it was sort of like a sweet and sour and sweet and sour and sweet and sour and but I see you now and I hear you and I said, oh my God, you know, I see so much of your mom and your dad in you, and of course your own personality that you've developed, and I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud to hear you speak so maturely about your life and your responsibility, not just to your future, your career, your vision, but also to your family. I mean, that is pretty amazing to me. So I want us to visit that area of the challenge. Your father going through this situation.
Mm-hmm.
You're having a normal life as a kid, right? With your brother Paul, your mom and your dad. You know, wonderful memories about your dad. Your dad was not just a great associate here with me at the business and a beautiful church member at the congregation, but he was a dear friend, dear friend. And so we're all enjoying life. You know, your mom, very special to me. And all of a sudden, you know, we get news. Not good news.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember how old you were. I don't know if you remember.
I was a sophomore in high school. And my dad had been feeling sick that day. Paul and I were home. My mom was at work, and he started acting just funny, and he ended up having a seizure. And I was petrified. I did not know what to do. So I called 911. I called Paul. I yelled for Paul, and so Paul took care of my dad while I called 911. And then my mom came home, and you know, after all of that, we had come to the conclusion, or the doctor had come to the conclusion, that he had brain cancer. And so that, from that point on, was extremely difficult.
Before you get to that, I gotta say this, because this is something that prior to this happening, I don't know if you remember, he had fainted in.
Yes, Krikorian.
But let me say this, because it's I used to play games with your dad, right? I used to mess around with dad, and I had sold them that Mercedes, and I didn't realize that I didn't give him all the keys. I gave him 2 keys, but there was a third key, and when I saw the key, I said, "Man, I'm gonna play a joke on Paul," and so what I would do is he would park the car. And then I would go and move the car.
That's hilarious. I did not know that.
I would move the car. And he would not say anything until one day I go, he hasn't said anything. He's going to have to say it this time. I went and actually parked it in reverse, right? And so that's the time where he says, what is going on, right? And I didn't tell him. So when he's at the hospital, because, you know, after he had fainted at the theater, I said, Paul, I have to confess something to you. And he's at the hospital. I said, man, you know, your car being moved from one place to another, that was me. I had to tell you. And he was just starting to crack, you know.
So
I had to share that with you.
I did not know that. That's hilarious. That's really funny. But let's touch on that, because that's a really important part that I didn't even touch. My dad, I don't know how long before the seizure this was, but he had fainted in the movie theater bathroom, and he talked about his experience when he was out, and he talked about. I don't remember it very clearly. I wrote it down, but from what I remember, he said it was, and you can chime in if you remember. I don't know, but he said that
Felt a lot of peace.
Yeah, that he felt so
He didn't want to come
calm,
back.
and he did not want to come back. But a voice was telling him, "You've got to wake up. It's not time. You've got
Wake
to
up,
wake
Paul."
up. Yeah,
Yeah.
wake up." And eventually he does wake up, and everything is fine. We still don't think anything of that until the seizure, where
But he was in a puddle of blood.
he was in a puddle of blood. Yeah, I mean, it was a
a
hard
serious thing.
fall, and I think that's what had happened. He had a seizure. No one was around though, so you can't really determine that. But yeah, so then he had that, and then the time when I was there with Paul, he had a seizure, and we had all seen it. We figured out, the doctor said he had brain cancer, and it was years later, I think, when he passed away, that I realized that that's what the whatever he was hearing, wake up, that's what it was. It was like, that wasn't his time. 2015, years later, after he had James and Isaac, that was the time, which I think is incredible, because he could have died and we wouldn't have even had James and Isaac.
Exactly.
It's just insane. It's so beautifully orchestrated. I don't know how else to say it. Even though it's a terrible thing, it's still beautifully orchestrated by God. I really believe that. And so, anyway, he has the brain cancer diagnosis, and then I'm trying to think of how much time. I think it was like 8 or so years where he struggled. I think it was harder on everyone else than it was. I'm sure it was hard for him. I'm not saying that, but I think it was harder for everyone else, because he made it seem like he was always okay, and he was very, very encouraging, and nothing changed about him. If anything changed, it was only for the better. It was never in a negative aspect. So I guess for us, maybe for me, I won't speak on it for everyone else, but for me, it was very difficult, because I don't think I was as strong in my faith as I am now, or at any other point in my life, than when he was first diagnosed. All I was thinking about was brain cancer. Like, that's terrible, and like, how are you going to beat that? And he just was always like, I am going to beat it. Like, what are you talking about? Like, there was no question about it. And so that helped me temporarily for a few minutes, but I mean, my faith wasn't where it should have been, and I wish it had been, because I think it might have been a little easier for me to cope with. It might have been a blessing to my family members in a different way.
What are you thinking when you get all this news?
I'm very upset. I don't show it. I don't want to show my mom, because I already know how. I'm sure she's feeling what I'm feeling, and I don't want to show her that, because why make it harder than it needs to be? So, yeah, I'm really just devastated. Yeah, people would ask me, and I think I'd put on that, not a front, but like, yeah, at that point, I think it was a front, like it's okay, like, just trying to speak faith, even though I didn't really feel it.
Say that again, because that's very important.
Well, just trying to speak faith and not really feeling it, but doing it anyway.
Yeah, because most people don't understand. They don't understand.
It's like, you have to do it anyway.
Yeah, they don't understand that faith is nothing to do with feelings. Because
because I was not feeling it. You're right. Yeah, it had nothing to do with feelings. It was just a matter of what I knew and what I was taught and what I knew I needed to continue to do. So I was like, he's great. He's awesome. Like, he looks better than ever. And he would say the same things about himself. So to see the person going through it, not change for the worse, but actually improve and get stronger in every other aspect of their lives, health. I mean, he was working out. He had brain cancer and was working out in the morning and at night, and was taking every supplement possible, so concentrated on his health, so zeroed in on what he needed to do. That made it easier to see the person going through it. That, I think, kind of got my faith going a little more, got my own habits changing.
Did he ever have any conversations that you remember? Anything that's, I mean, I'm sure you had conversations, but anything that sticks out in your mind that?
I'm trying to think. I don't think there was ever anything specific that I remember other than that conversation about the recording, and that was pretty big. I think he didn't really need to speak. I think I saw it all in what he did, and I think he was just a man of very few words and a man of a lot of action, and that spoke louder to me than anything he could have said. The way he carried himself, that spoke volumes over any words he could have spoken. So, yeah, in that way, he did speak to me. That the way that he continued to be disciplined in everything that he really loved, even work.
You know, I remember going to lunch with Paul, and I, before leaving for lunch, I had some questions. That was the process. I go, I'm going to make him talk, and I had those open-end questions, right? And I would ask him things, and because I know he would do the same thing to other people. So I want to do it to Paul. I go, I want to do it to him, and I remember, because we used to go to Mimi's quite often, have some coffee or breakfast or something. And I remember this particular day when we're sitting there, and there was a server that was going through cancer herself, and it was a very challenging time for her. And I'm sitting on this side, and Paul's sitting on this side. She comes around this way, and he looks at her. He's already going through this. He looks at her. He stands up, and he just hugs her. And I knew Paul's hugs, right? So he's just holding her. It didn't matter whether they felt comfortable. He just kept her like this, and then I could just see her just tearing up, right? And I said, "Wow, you could see the connection." Mm-hmm. And he sat down, and we just continued with our breakfast.
Yeah.
So that's what you mean when you say he said a lot of things without saying a lot of things.
Yes. Just like that. I don't know. That's the best way to put it. Said a lot of things without saying anything. Mm-hmm.
And what's going on with your relationship with your mom? So let's take a little break, because I want to hear you about that relationship that's going with your mom while she's going through the struggle. Yeah. Very, very interesting conversation. We'll be right back. Don't go away, please.
You are invited to Success is Believing with David Sariñana to put your faith in action. An author, conference speaker, a spiritual leader, a successful businessman, David Sariñana will guide you to truth principles.
Okay, so we're back. We teach a lot about God's faithfulness, and sometimes, when you look at the circumstances, sometimes the circumstances don't show God's faithfulness. Mm-hmm. But His faithfulness is there, no matter if we see them or not. So you're going through this. Tell me about your relationship with your mom. Seeing her, I know that your mom is very, very strong.
Very.
And again, that was another message that you were receiving, and not. We encourage people not to say things just for the sake of saying things, but to actually become the message. You had there two tremendous examples of two people that you love that were not just maybe talking a lot, but they were living it. These are messages in the flesh, right?
Yeah, very much so. Yeah. I think my mom struggled with it a lot, but she didn't want us to see, and I understand. And there were times where I think more so when he did end up passing away, where I would, hear her crying or just really see her struggling with it. I'm not sure at what point we've always been close, but I'm not sure at what point we got even closer, but we did. Maybe it was probably towards hospice care. I think she really needed me and her sister. And I think we just got very, very close because we couldn't imagine a life without my dad. I couldn't comprehend it. She couldn't either. But I know she was struggling. Oh my God. She would be up all night long because towards the end, my dad would have to, he just couldn't sleep, or it was just very difficult. And so it was really hard to see her struggling and really knowing that I couldn't do anything about it. That was hard, but but I think if I don't know if it's possible. I think she got stronger. I really do, and she has been an incredible example of what it means to take care of your partner, because she did it so well. She did it very well. She would take my dad to chemo every single time. She would never let him be alone. She would always order his food. Just very, very attentive to him. And I think that I picked that up. That's what I want. I think the way she was a wife, that's what I want to be. Even if my husband isn't, not that my husband will be, but just if my husband, God forbid, that situation. I saw what she was doing, and I wanted to model that as a wife. And so I really admired the strength and the selflessness that she showed in those years, because it was not easy. It was very difficult, but she did it. And yeah, we got very close.
It's great that you say that, because I tell my kids, my children, that family life is the greatest educational experience that one can experience.
Yeah.
And that if you have eyes and a heart and a mind to absorb this stuff, it can impact you for the rest of your life if you're sensitive. Right?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't. You're not allowed to just go over your head and not really pay attention. And so you had this man in your life, your father, and passes 2015.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be 3 years already. Coming right?
No,
four. 4 years.
Yeah, I know. It feels like yesterday, and it also feels like it's like a.
And so you have your mother.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's not home.
Mm-hmm.
Now she's the mom and dad.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about that experience. And I know that you were mentioning a little bit about your relationship with your siblings. You know?
I try to be as involved as possible, but I can't take credit for what she does, because she really is both people. I mean, I try to help as much as possible, and I think I do a lot, but she does so much more. I mean, I can't even take credit for that. She does a lot. She takes Isaac to baseball. She takes them both to school in the morning. He has to come home to get ready, because just even the extracurricular activities where a partner would be so helpful, it's not there anymore. And that's not even where we feel his absence most. It's for me reading a book and not being able to share what I've read, or James doing something at school and not being able to share that with him, or Isaac not being able to go on bike rides with him. That's how we feel his absence, of course. But I think he's always been there. He left behind such a strong legacy that we can't even forget the values that he instilled in us.
I was thinking, as you were saying that, I was thinking that a lot of couples don't understand the importance of both spouses to be on top of their game, and understanding the responsibilities, and understanding how a household is run, right?
Mm-hmm.
I remember him being very, very much interested in the savings and the investment aspects of the finances at home, but your mother wasn't involved, and she had to learn. And stepping forward and being the main provider and all this stuff. Couples don't understand how valuable this is, because we never know. We don't know what the future holds, and if we're not making those preparations, they could suffer great losses.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that she's done it, even because she's learned. I'm sure my dad would have gotten around to telling me about this stuff, but she has helped me in my finances and my what I want to do, and really reminded me. There's this thing where I heard this thing where it says people don't really need to be instructed as much as they need to be reminded, and I feel like that's true for me, because sometimes you just need to be reminded, and she is so good at reminding me of the things that my dad taught me when I was young, when it comes to health, finances, spiritual, anything. I think she's a really great reminder, because she tries to carry on what he taught us. And I think she's done an excellent job doing that with James and Isaac as well, because James is very into his finances, and like he didn't really have my dad around to tell him about that stuff. So I know that that's coming from somewhere, and I'm sure that she's been a big
I want to
part of
mention
that.
something, and not because I want to take any credit whatsoever, but uh, I mean, I met your folks. They were not married yet.
Hmm.
They were. I think your mom was 19, your dad was 21, 22.
Hmm.
Um, and so I was there for the whole process, you know, and I'm still there.
Yeah.
A lot of times families don't understand, or people don't understand the importance of attaching themselves to a mentor, to someone that is going to instruct them, to inspire them, to
Hmm.
connect them to godliness and
Yeah.
faith. Because and maybe you want to mention a little bit of that, the importance of that, because it's going to affect generations. That's the bottom line.
I feel like you can take credit for that, and that's okay, because I don't think that. I mean, even when I was younger, I think I saw that because my dad would say certain things or like do things that would frustrate me as a child, and I'd be like, "Are you doing that because David does that?" And I think I noticed that because he
Uh-huh.
really admired you and was so close to you, and he'd be like, "No," like I think he'd try to defend himself, but like I feel like obviously there was the influence there that you had on them, and that's undeniable. I think that's even in church and in finances, because this is where he worked, and my mom at some point also. Um, the those things that you shared with them, that's carrying on to me, James, Isaac, Paul, and that'll carry on to my kids and their kids. I have no doubt about that, and I think that is so invaluable to have a mentor, because those lessons transfer to generation to generation to generation, and that can change generation after generation after generation, and that's so important. I don't know how else to word that, but it's so important to have those values.
And the only reason I bring it up is because, you know, there's no such thing as perfect relationships or perfect people.
Hmm.
But in spite of the flaws, you know, when you find someone that is good to have in your life, that you need to fight for that relationship and
Yeah.
not walk away, and because you hit it right on the button, is going to affect generations,
Hmm.
and those are decisions that are that have long lasting effects, you know,
Yeah.
in the future. So what does the future hold for Nicole Morales? I know that you have certain visions. Can you share that with us?
Yeah. I mean, I after the program, I think it really confirmed that I want to pursue film, and my ultimate goal is to have my own production company. I think selecting the projects that I want to work on, that's the ultimate goal.
Awesome,
Yeah,
awesome,
that would
awesome.
be the ultimate goal, is to have that. And the guy that I mentioned, Austin, the one that also lost his dad, is also a Christian. We talk about how we would love to have a joint production company separate from maybe our own, but like one where we can have uh, faith-based projects.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, but like there are so many good stories in the Bible. And so many movies that you watch now pull from the Bible and distort it or make it their own. And it would be so awesome because you don't need to change what happens in the Bible,
No,
because
no, no.
they're so interesting, and the story, not the story, but like the purpose of the story is so.
Principles.
Yeah, the principle of the story. That's exactly it. The principle of the story is it needs to be shared, and it needs to be shared in a way where it's not cheesy. It needs to be shared in a way where you respect the Marvel universe. If you could do that in a biblical realm, that would just be incredible. The special effects you could do with David and Goliath or something like that. I really feel like you could do something great with that, and I don't think it's been done correctly at any point yet. So, I mean, that's a vision that we share, is having some kind of respected Bible production company,
Well, that brings me
Bible-based.
so much joy. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
My whole life has been about. I go, man. If I'm convinced that the answers should come out out of the church, right? That we
Mm-hmm.
should be the ones writing and
Mm-hmm.
and creating and producing and directing and training, and to hear this is like a confirmation of something that God put in my heart many years ago, and you're that part of that generation that is going to bring these things into fruition, and reality. And that is such an inspiration, because it's going to inspire so many other people that have their talents, and sometimes they have them kind of hidden, to expose them and to risk it, right? And take that step of faith and make this happen.
Absolutely.
We are so happy. Nicole, thank you so much for making the time. I know that your life is extremely busy as a mom and all the things that you got to do in your career. But I'm very happy that you took this time, and I know that it's going to be a tremendous inspiration to a lot of people that are going to be viewing this. And we'll do it again some other time.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
All right. So until the next one, David Sariñana, Unlimited Faith. We say goodbye for right now.